Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. Let's have a look at a very overused, often misused word in boxing, and that word is duck. What exactly do we mean by a fighter ducking another fighter? When does it constitute avoidance is essentially what it means. So when can we say, well, that's clearly fighter A avoiding fighter B, as opposed to a grey area? Maybe fighter A had several different options. Maybe there were extenuating circumstances that meant fighter A couldn't face fighter B. Where do we draw that line? How do we define this word duck? Because it's so often used. And the reason I'm asking this question is because I've heard a lot of people say that Dimitry Bivol has ducked David Benavidez. He's gone for the trilogy fight with Artur Beterbiev. I have no problem with that, as I've said in previous videos. I like trilogy fights. One of the guys who left a comment on my video did say, I like my trilogy fights not all in a row, like kind of spread out almost. And a few people have said that, actually. I've heard other people say that. But this guy I remember reading this guy's comment and thinking, that's a good point. That's a fair point, okay? Because if you look at the great trilogies throughout boxing history, I'm struggling to think. Oh, yeah, well, actually, I think Gatti Ward was 3 in a row, wasn't it? But Ali Fraser certainly wasn't. Ali versus Norton wasn't. I could go on, but anyway. Nevertheless, I don't mind trilogy fights. I think they're a part of boxing history. And also, the first two Bivol-Beterbiev fights were so excellent, so brilliant, and very, very close, even though I thought Bivol won both of them. He actually only won the second one on the cards. But I remember thinking after about 5 rounds in the rematch, Beterbiev was on the ascendancy here. In fact, Bivol showed his brilliance, came back, and I think probably won the second fight a bit wider than he did the first one. But that's not to say it was easy. It was highly competitive. Someone else left a comment on one of my videos saying, he's opted for a shot Beterbiev over Benavidez. What are you talking about? Shot? Did you watch the first two fights? Did that look like a shot fighter to you? I can accept people saying that Beterbiev is past his best, maybe, or knocking on a bit. I mean, is he 41 now? Okay, yeah, but shot? No, not. He's a million miles from it. A million miles from being shot. He still probably would beat any other light heavy in the world, except possibly Benavidez. Benavidez is a very, very good fighter. None of what I'm saying here, by the way, is intended as a slur on David Benavidez, who is an extremely good light heavyweight. I like Benavidez. I like watching him. I wish him well. He was definitely ducked by Canelo, as was David Morrell. That's why both of them jumped to 175. But I have a problem with people saying Bivol has ducked Benavidez. And here's why. Number one, he cannot fight both men next. He can fight both men eventually, which is what I'm hoping is going to happen. I am hoping that Bivol will, if he wins the Beterbiev third fight, he will be 2-1 up, which will have, let's say, settled the argument. That's if he wins. Of course, it's not a foregone conclusion. And then I want to see him fight Benavidez, right? But he can't fight both next, obviously. So let's say he fought Benavidez next instead of the trilogy fight. He would be accused of A, trying to age out Beterbiev, because he knows he was given living hell for 24 rounds in the first two fights. So, he doesn't want that smoke again, He's only fought him twice. And look, it's only 1-1. It's only one. And see, I would be saying some of this. I would be saying, well, why is he fighting Benavidez? It's only 1-1. I'd be saying that. But these are the arguments that could be made. And also, they'd say, Benavidez is, some people would say, well, Benavidez is an easier option than Beterbiev. Benavidez looked decent and very good, in fact, against Morrell. But he's not faced anyone like Bivol. And his style lends itself to Bivol's style, because Benavidez is a very, very good come-forward pressure fighter. Extremely good engine over 12, but as we know, no problem as far as Bivol's concerned. He can handle that sort of heat. He's proved it twice against Beterbiev. Some people will say, well, yeah, but Benavidez is fresher. Right? So to me, this is not, again, that's an argument that could be made, but to me, it was a sort of, in one sense, it's a win-win, because they're both excellent opponents for Bivol, and he'll get big fat paychecks, whether it's Beterbiev for the third fight, or whether a decider, essentially, or whether it's, the young gun who's probably in his prime, which is Benavidez. Great stuff either way. But the downside is it was a lose-lose, because whoever he picked, other people were going to say, well, you've avoided him, you ducked him. And this is what I don't like about this word duck, because sometimes some people are not capable of taking extenuating circumstances or just the bigger picture into consideration when they make some sort of assessment. And also, like I say, he can fight them both eventually. He just can't fight them both next, and people don't pay attention to that. So I think this is a prime example of the wrong use of the word duck. I don't know how anyone can accuse Bivol of ducking anyone, because he's wanted all the smoke since his career started, his professional career started, and as an amateur, he was an excellent amateur as well. And I want to see the trilogy. Apart from anything else, just for personal taste, I want to see the trilogy, and then I want to see Bivol, who'll still be young enough, if he beats Beterbiev, to fight Benavidez. Now, if Beterbiev beats Bivol, clearly whoever said he was a shot fighter or past his best or whatever was wrong. Clearly, because he'd gone out and proved that he's 2-1. He'll be 2-1 against Bivol now. Now, also, there's one other thing you need to bear in mind as well. And that is that Bivol had his belt taken off him, because the WBC, who gave Charlo 2 years without making a single defence, who allowed Fury to sit on the WBC belt for God knows how long, and Wilder, who allow all sorts of shenanigans to go. But we know they make up their rules as they go along. They're entirely flexible to the point of being irrelevant, their rules, okay? They took the belt off Bivol, and they've upgraded Benavidez from diet the diet champion to the full fat champion with added sugar. So suddenly he's walking around saying, "I'm a world champion." Okay, you're a world champion. You've got the belt. You're a world titleist. You're a titleist. You've got that belt. Okay. Who is David Benavidez' promoter? It is a guy called Samson Lekovich, who works with, you've guessed it, PBC. Now, do you really want, bearing in mind PBC's prior conduct regarding their champions and unifications, do you really want them in charge of one of the belts when they're going to, I think, essentially sit on it? And we'll see how strict the WBC are with Lekovich and PBC, where this is concerned with mandatories and so on. Because it seems to me that now that PBC have got hold of one of the belts, even if, whether it's Bivol or Beterbiev, whichever one wins the trilogy fight, are they going to immediately put Benavidez in with the winner of that fight? I would have doubts. I have got doubts, because I think what they'll do is they'll try and milk that belt dry, or at the very least they'll make such outrageous demands that they'll try and drag Bivol. Well, they certainly won't go over to Riyadh, because the whole Riyadh season is in opposition to PBC. They'll insist that any unification, or should we say reunification, between Benavidez and the winner of Bivol versus Beterbiev has got to be on Amazon Prime, because that's where PBC are now, and they'll make it very difficult. So you've got to ask yourself, the first two trilogy fights were for all the belts. And okay, Benavidez has got a trinket now. He is a titleist. But to me, until he beats either Dimitry Bivol or Artur Beterbiev, whoever wins that third fight, he can't really call himself the light heavyweight champion of the world, because we know who the champion is. We've seen it twice, and we're going to see it a third time. But if you want to walk around with a belt saying that you're better than those people who unified, Okay, if you make money, I don't begrudge fighters making money, but we know that there are many, many PBC fighters whose legacies have suffered. Maybe their bank balances haven't, but their legacies have suffered because they've been put in with second raters and belts have been sat upon. I mean, how long did it take, Errol Spence and Crawford to fight? In fact, it took too long from the point of Spence, because for all intents and purposes, and it was 2 years ago almost when they fought, he looked like damaged goods by the time he got in that ring. He'd have probably been better off fighting sooner. So I don't know. But getting back to the original point of this video, the word duck. Where do we draw the line? Where do we say, okay, a guy who's got a chance to earn a ton of money over here, an absolute fortune over here, or a much, much lesser purse against someone who could be perceived, not necessarily, but could be perceived to be a better challenge, should he go out of, shall we say, a sense of morality or a sense of fairness over here when he can make a shit ton of money over here, over to the left? Well, I think if he's already proved himself, which Bivol and Beterbiev have, or in this case Bivol has, he can go where the money is. I do not begrudge him having that trilogy fight one little bit. And yes, it'd be great to see Benavidez fight Bivol, or the winner of Bivol Beterbiev. Great. But mark my words, in the future, when negotiations are underway, keep an eye on Mr. Samson Lekovitz and PBC and what they're demanding, what they're insisting upon, because they're going to be very difficult people to do a deal with. Certainly where Riyadh and Eddie Hearn and Matchroom are concerned, that's if Bivol wins. But, then you might see some real ducking. Just a thought. Have a think about that one. All right. Leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you agree. Let me know if you disagree. I know a lot of you would prefer to see Bivol versus Benavidez, but is it really a duck? Giving up that trilogy fight to fight Benavidez, to fight Beterbiev? Is that really ducking when you want to fight Artur Beterbiev for a third time on the bounce? One of the toughest, biggest bastards in the whole fucking boxing. Is that really a duck? Maybe you think it is. Tell me though, comments below. Subscribe to the channel if you know and if you like this video. Please hit the like button and spread the word about Joe Stunner Boxing. Many, many thanks for your time as always. Looking forward to seeing what you've got to say. Bye for now.